Good morning, students. Welcome to the class of English Literature. Today, we are going to start a new poem. As you can see on your screen, poem's name is Ode on a Grecian Urn, written by John Keats. It is a very famous ode, and in this video, we will discuss about its summary. But before we start this summary, we shall have a look on poet's life, John Keats. This is the picture of John Keats. You can see him. John Keats was born on 31st October in 1795, and he died very early at the age of 26 on 23 February 1821. He was an English romantic poet. He was one of the main figures of the second generation of romantic poet. You all very well know that romantic age starts from 1798 and it ends in 1837. This period is called Romantic period. He was one of the main figures of the second generation of romantic poet, along with Lord Byron and P.B. Shelley. Despite his works having been in publication for only 4 years before his death from tuberculosis at the age of 26. Although his poems were not generally well received by critics during his lifetime, his reputation grew after his death, and by the end of the 19th century, he had become one of the most beloved of all English poets. The poetry of Keats is characterized by a style. His poems were heavily loaded with sensualities. The word sensuousness is always related to John Keats, most notably in the series of odes. Some of his most acclaimed works are Ode to Nightingale, Sleep and Poetry, and a very famous sonnet on first looking into Chapman's Homer. Now we will move towards to our poem Ode on a Grecian Urn. This poem was written in 1819. It is a complex, mysterious poem with a disarmingly simple setup. An undefined speaker looks at a Grecian urn. Grecian urn, you can see on your screen. This is called urn. Since it was made in Greek, so it is called Grecian urn, which is decorated with evocative images of rustic and rural life in ancient Greece. You can clearly see there are images on the urn. These images evokes John Keats' mind with the rustic life of Greek. These scenes fascinate, mystify, and excite the speaker in equal measure. They seem to have captured life in its fullness, yet are frozen in time. The speaker The speaker's response shifts through different moods, and ultimately, the urn provokes questions more than it provides answers. The poem ends with a very beautiful line: beauty is truth, truth, beauty, that is all you know on earth and all you need to know. Now we will move towards to our text, but in this video we are not going to study the text. I am only giving you the summary, which will be very useful for you to understand the meaning of or the explanation of this poem. In the next video we will explain this poem line by line. Here the first stanza is on your screen. In the first stanza, the speaker stands before an ancient urn and addresses it. He is preoccupied with its depiction of pictures frozen in time. It is the still unravished bride of quietness, the foster child of silence and slow time. Means John Keats here calls the urn unravished bride of quietness and foster child of silence and slow time. And also in the next line he describes the urn as a Sylvan historian that can tell a story. He wonders about the figures on the side of the urn and asks what legend they depict and from where they come. He looks at the picture that seems to depict a group of men pursuing a group of women and wonders what their story could be. What mad pursuit, what struggle to escape, what pipes and timbrels, timbrels means mridang dhol, what wild ecstasy. Now, in the second stanza, the speaker looks at another picture on the urn, this time of a young man playing a pipe, lying with his lover beneath a glade of trees. Glade, Glade, glade means वन मैदान, मीन्स वन के बीच में बना हुआ घास का मैदान जिसके चारों ओर ट्रीज होते हैं, ऐसा मैदान. The speaker says that the piper's unheard melodies are sweeter than mortal melodies because they are unaffected by time. He tells the youth that though he can never kiss his lover because he is frozen in time, but he should not grieve because her beauty, means his beloved's beauty, will never fade or never perish. In the third stanza, He looks at the trees surrounding the lovers and feels happy that they will never shed their leaves. He is happy for the piper because his songs will be forever new, and happy that the love of the boy and the girl will last forever, unlike mortal love, which lapses into breathing human passion and eventually vanishes, leaving behind only a burning forehead and a parching tongue. Now, in the fourth stanza, there is another picture. The speaker examines another picture on the urn, this one of a group of villagers leading a heifer. Heifer means bachda, गाय का बच्चा, to be sacrificed, to be killed at the holy altar. He wonders where they are going, to what green altar, O mysterious priest, and from where they have come. He imagines their little town empty of all its citizens and tells it that its streets will forevermore be silent for those who have left it frozen on the urn and will never be able to return to their town. So the town will be always empty of its citizens. Now, in the last final stanza, the speaker again addresses the urn itself, saying that it, like eternity, doth tease us out of thought. He thinks that when his generation is long dead, the urn will remain, telling future generations its enigmatic lesson. Enigmatic means good rahasya. Beauty is truth. Truth, beauty. The speaker says that that is the only thing the urn knows, and this is the only thing it needs to know. Thus, this was the summary of this poem. I hope you all got the idea. Now, in the next video, we will be discussing its explanation line by line. Till then, goodbye.